So, very good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about the common figures of speech for the standard 11th and 12th for the English compulsory subject. So here today we shall be discussing about the 15 most common figures of speech. Now, as you know, in the syllabus, the poetic devices and the figures of speech both carry some marks. As the poetry section, there is a question for 4 marks on critical appreciation of the given poem. So in this critical appreciation, most of the time, most of the children get confused with some figures of speech or the poetic devices. So in this particular lecture, we shall be discussing about those figures of speech or the poetic devices which come again and again or which are repeated again and again in every poem. So let us discuss about some of the figures of speech or the poetic devices which we shall encounter while studying 11th and 12th syllabus for compulsory English. These are the tools used by a person to express his ideas, feelings, emotions in a better manner. With the use of the poetic device, a person or a poet may use them to attract the reader's mind, captivate their attention, and charm them with his composition or sentences. With a very easy example to give, I can say if I have a sentence that good morning everybody. Now this is a very easy and simple sentence. But when I say what a wonderful morning it is, good morning everybody. So you see the difference between these two sentences. One sentence looks very simple. It when you hear it, it hears very simple. While the other sentence, it hears to be very nice, okay, and energetic. So this is why we use the poetic devices. Now look here, the use of these poetic devices is very common with poetry. So these poetic devices are very common things. One time the poet may forget to add the rhythm to the poem, but he will definitely use the poetic devices, as these tools work effectively to charm and stimulate the reader's mind and invoke his thoughts. Now we have learned so many poems so far in English, and we have seen that many of the poems are written in free verses, some of them are sonnets, some of them are ballads, but not in even in a single poem it has happened so that the poet has not used any poetic device. So you come to see here that the poetic devices are very important. So let us now understand what are figures of speech. So basically a figure of speech is a type of poetic device. There's nothing different in them. Okay? It is a form of expression. So these figures of speech help us to express better way. They are used only to enhance the meaning of the sentence. They are used to bring creativity to the lines or phrases. So whatever sentence or whatever lines you want to deliver, it only brings creativity. It expresses its meaning in more words. See here, figures means pictures which help the reader to understand it more nicely. So the use of figure of speech only enhances the meaning, and it is better for the person, the listener, where he can understand the meaning of that particular sentence in many ways. For example, one picture is worth 1,000 words. So if those particular sentences could strike your creativity and help you to understand it in different ways, it is good for you. It is easy to remember also. So the next is now which figures of speech or the poetic devices we are going to discuss. The first is the simile, then we are going to discuss metaphor, alliteration, repetition, personification, onomatopoeia, interrogation, hyperbole, paradox, inversion, oxymoron, antithesis, synecdoche, then climax and pun. So let us begin with the first figure of speech or poetic device is simile. A word or phrase that compares two different things using words like and as. So we are going to be comparing two different things, okay, using the words like or as. There is a direct comparison. So see, this thing is very important here. There is a direct comparison. An example is given here. Usain Bolt ran as fast as a cheetah. Okay, so here Usain Bolt and cheetah are two different things. Both of them are living things, but both of them are different, and they are compared as he is as fast as a cheetah. Okay, so the important thing between simile is that there should be something in common. Okay, this is also very important. So what is common in these two things? That they both run very fast. So the next example is, the baby is beautiful like an angel. So the baby is not an angel, okay, basically here, but its beauty is like an angel. The next example, she dances like a peacock. Okay, so her dance is compared to the dance of a peacock directly. Okay, we say that she dances as beautiful as a peacock. So let us see the next one. The next is metaphor, a word or phrase that compares two different things. There is no use of any words. We have seen in simile there are words such as like and as which compares to things, but here there is no comparison with words. There is indirect comparison. So in simile you have direct comparison, and in metaphor you have indirect comparison. So the example is given, the Indian soldiers are lions. So the Indian soldier is a lion. So basically he is not a lion, but the bravery of these two people or these two objects is like similar to each other. The next is the famous one, the camel is the ship of the desert. The camel is not the ship of the desert, but the way the camel moves in the desert is compared to be he is like the ship of the desert. Then we have the next one, that is alliteration. The repetition of initial consonant sound leaving the five vowels. Now you know that there are five vowels, that is A, E, I, O, U, and the 21 remaining are the consonants. In two or more neighboring words or syllables, alliteration is also known as initial rhyme. So the use of this is to get a rhyme in the particular poem. Okay, example, sheep should sleep in a shed. Okay, so the sheep should sleep in a shed. So you can see the initial what to say consonant sound, that is and is repeated. It is not the initial word or the what to say alphabet. It has nothing to do with the alphabet, the sound. Okay, the alliterations are also famously known to be tongue twisters, because while reading them, we feel that our tongues are to be twisted. For example, see here, Pranav planted the pretty pink buds in the purple pot. When you read it very quietly, very fast, you will feel like there is a twist in your tongue. The next example is, go and gather the green leaves on the grass. See here, I have outlined the initial consonant sounds. The next one now. Next is the repetition. Now this device repeats the same words or phrases a few times to make an idea clearer and easy to remember. Now this is very important because many a times, now we'll see here first. Example, the boy is a good musician because his father was a musician and his grandfather was also a musician. Okay, so here I have outlined the words musician, musician and musician. So to prove this point that this device repeats the same words. Now next is, if you can do it, you can do it. Repetition of the words, you can do it, you can do it again and again. So there is this important thing. You may get confused between alliteration and repetition. But to understand this, that in alliteration, consonant sounds are repeated. That is, the consonant sound is the initial sound. Okay. Example, the boy buzzed around the school like a busy bee. So here the initial consonant sound is B, B, then P and B. Okay, I am not saying the initial consonant alphabet. It is the consonant sound. The next is, Ruchi came here to cut a colorful kite for Karthik. So you can clearly see what I am talking about here. The C, then C here again. Okay, so this is alliteration. And in repetition, words, phrases, sentences are repeated. So this is the main difference between consonant sound and repetition of words, phrases and sentences. See example, it's okay to be okay. So what is the repetition of words of okay and okay are be repeated here. The next is, he was very happy to see everyone happy around him. So which words are repeated here? Yes, happy and happy. That's right. So let us see the next one. Now the next one is personification. In personification, the human attributes and qualities are given to inanimate objects. Inanimate objects here does not mean non-living things, but those who cannot move, because we see in personification many a times that two living things are also compared to each other, means they are given human attributes but which cannot move. Example, the sun is smiling. Now see, this is a attribute, the attribute of smiling of a human being is given to the sun. The next example, the trees are dancing. Both trees and humans are living objects, but trees cannot move, which can be seen to the eyes. Okay, so the trees are dancing. So this human attribute is given to the tree. The phone is yelling, that is shouting very loudly. So the attribute of shouting or yelling is given to the phone. Now the next one is onomatopoeia. See here, this device imitates the natural sound of things. These sounds describe the object. So whatever sound this particular sentence is there is any sound in that, it is actually describing sound of that object. For example, the bell rang, ding dong. So ding dong is the sound made by the bell, natural sound. Okay, next is the bees buzzed around the flowers. So the buzzing of bees is actually the sound of the bees. Next is interrogation. In this, rhetorical questions are used, but not to get answers, but to create drama. So there are questions in those, in poems or in the sentences, there are questions, but you will not get any answer out of that. It is just to create drama. Okay, just to stimulate your mind. For example, am I an idiot to fall for your lies? So here there will be no answer, yes or no. It's just a question. It's creating a drama, no? So next one is, what do you think you are anyway? So you're not going to answer here anything. It is just a question which is creating drama. So the next one is hyperbole. Now see here, I have given the pronunciation of this particular figure of speech. Many of time people say it hyperbole or hyperbole. It's not hyperbole, it is hyperbole. Okay, so in Greek, hyper means excess or too much. The meaning of hyper is excess or too much. It means too much exaggeration or explanation of a statement. There is no meaning literally. So the meaning of that sentence is nothing. It is just too much explanation. Okay. So here example is given. I am so hungry I could eat an elephant. You can see here that sometimes you feel that you are very hungry. You can eat everything. There is no literal meaning to that. It is only means that you are very hungry. Or the next one is, this school bag weighted over a ton. Sometimes you feel that the bag which you are carrying to the schools or to your colleges, it is so much that you cannot carry it. So it is nothing, there is no literal meaning. It only means one thing, that it is very heavy. Okay. So let us see the next one. The next one is paradox. Now in this, device states two contradictory, that is opposite things which seem impossible but stated as true. These statements do make some logical sense. There is some logical sense. Even if the statement looks that it has been constructed in any different manner, contradictory objects may be used, but it has a meaning. It means something logically. See, your enemy's friend is your enemy. Okay, so this picture you can see here, these two people are shaking their hand. This means they are friends to somebody but enemies to each other. I know one thing, I know nothing. So this is also one particular thing. It makes sense, no? You know something, but you know nothing. It is like that. Okay. Now the next one is inversion. In this device, the orders of the words or sentences is inverted purposely or reversed in order to achieve a rhyme effect. Many a times, many a people think that why in some poems there are some sentences which have been inverted. The sentence is wrong. It is not wrong. Purposely that person, that poet or poetess, she has used it to create the rhyming effect. Okay. So example, never again will you do that. So what is this? Is actually the wrong construction. What is the correct construction? You will never do that again. The next example, never has Dipesh missed his lectures. Correct order, Dipesh has never missed his lectures. See, this is the effect of inversion. It is creating little bit of rhyme in the sentences. Learning are you the poetic devices today. This is also inversion. Today you are learning the poetic devices. The effect is rhyming effect. Now next is oxymoron. Two contradictory ideas are joined to create an effect. Usually a noun is followed by an adjective. These words create drama. So oxymoron is used to create drama, and while you read the sentence, we see that the noun is followed by an adjective. Example: this is an open road. Okay, the roads are usually open, but this is an open road. His life is a tragic comedy. This is the picture of a tragic comedy. You can see here a very famous quote. Okay, his life is a tragic comedy, means his life is tragedy also, and his life seems to be a comedy also. See, two contradictory ideas. These are original copies. How can any copies be original? Okay, and if they are copies, why are they original? And why could anybody give somebody original copies? So see, two contradictory ideas. The next one is antithesis. It literally means opposites. Two opposite ideas are put together to achieve a contrasting effect. They have similar structure though. Okay, they have a similar structure but opposite things. Example: man proposes, God disposes. Speech is silver, silence is golden. So here there are two opposites actually. See here, proposes and disposes are actually opposites of each other. Okay, so, now you can say that speech and silence, they are also opposites. Silver and golden is not opposite. Okay, speech and silence are two opposite things. Now see here, next is now confusion. Okay, look here. You may get confused between oxymoron and antithesis, as oxymoron is used to create humor while antithesis is used to make an impact. This is the most important thing between both of them, that oxymoron creates humor, it's for fun, and antithesis makes an impact. Look here, antithesis contains two opposite words, sentences or clauses, while oxymoron contains only two opposite words, antonyms, right? In antithesis, two opposites are not always together, but in oxymoron, two opposites are always together. So this is a major difference, that both of them have opposites in them, but somewhere there are sentences or clauses, but somewhere there are only words. In somewhere they are in continuous form, but somewhere they come after some time. The next is synecdoche. Now many of times we read this particular figure of speech or poetic device as synecdoche. It is not synecdoche, but it is synecdoche. Okay, so this device in which a part represents the whole or vice versa. Now this is a very interesting figure of speech or poetic device, as only one particular part is represented for the whole. For example, all hands on the deck. So all hands cannot be on the deck. This all hands means the all sailors on the deck. For example, next example, he has many mouths to feed. How can anybody have many mouths? No, he has mouths here mean many people to feed. Next is climax. In this device, successive words, phrases, clauses, or sentences are arranged in ascending order of importance. It builds up excitement and anticipation. So in climax, what happens, that one word comes after the another. Okay, they have some similar meaning. They have to make an impact. He came, he saw, and he conquered. Means he came, he saw everything, and then finally he won. Next is, if you think that's bad, it gets worse. Means if you think this is very bad, then the worst has to just happen. Okay, so a figure of speech or a poetic device which is not explained in this particular video is anticlimax, that is the opposite of climax. The difference between climax and anticlimax is only that if in climax you have successive words, in anticlimax you have the descending order, means the words which are more important come first, and from there it goes on decreasing. The next is pun. Pun means here play of words. It is usually used to create humor which suggests two or more meanings. There can be more meanings to the sentences. Example, an elephant's opinion carries a lot of weight. Now here it is just for fun. An elephant's opinion means something very much. Next is time flies like an arrow. Fruits fly like a banana. There is no literal meaning to this. This is just for fun. That time flies like an arrow. Time just passes away. But what about fruits? Fruit should fly like a banana. So this is for fun. A bicycle can't stand on its own. Why can't a bicycle stand on its own? Because it is too tired. Here, tired does not mean that it is tired to stand, but it is because it has two tires. Okay, this is the meaning of it. So this is the end. I know some of them are indeed very confusing, but with practice we can understand them easily. To understand the poetic devices or the figures of this again, you can go back to the initial video and see it again. So have a nice day.